Okay, welcome everybody. Today I have a very special guest. His name is Tyler Engel, and he's also known as Bass Forge, and he basically interprets modern day sacred geometry, but from the context of the ancient wisdom. He's he's got some great knowledge on everything that I'm in love with, from pyramids, cymatics, frequency, everything. His role's important because he's kind of like holding the torch to take this forward. And his gift is that he knows how to interpret this for a younger generation.
Happy to be here. As with we talked before, and I was learning from you before I even started posting on social media too. So this is kind of a surreal experience getting to exchange ideas with people that I really look up to. So thank you for having me on.
I'm still learning. I just follow the breadcrumbs and I research every night. I take hundreds of screenshots when I watch. If I watch your work, I've probably taken 1,000 screenshots of your cinematic. I love the way it's so professional what you're doing. I don't know if it's CapCut, but the way you put your work together, it's just like enthralling. I'm still old school. I'm still, as you can see, I read books and I draw everything by hand. And I think that was something we chatted yesterday about the importance of getting that the symbol for ancient Pythagoreans was the compass and the set square.
Mhm.
So even though we're moving into a new age with high technology and I still think it's important that um, all young sacred geometry teachers still need to draw diagrams and you learn as you construct the universe.
That's what I put. That's like the page two of my book too. Is like
Oh,
it's not
cool.
gonna make sense unless you draw it yourself because you have to figure it out. You can look at a pretty shape and all the nice geometry, but until you have to do it yourself and solve that problem, it's a much
Yeah.
different animal.
Yeah. So the seed of everything to me would be the circle, but when the circle as the creator and the creator wanted to discover itself, so it made a copy of itself, and that formed the Vesica Pisces, and that's the separation from God. And then, the seed of life is formed. And what I love about the seed of life leading to the flower of life is that um, if you had some coins, like say, I like to work with children, like 5 to 10 year olds. That's where I learn everything. So if you had a pile of coins on the table and you said to a child, how many coins can wrap around a central coin? They're all the same size, and they might say 5 or 7, but then they realize that it's 6 coins actually tangent and touch. And from that six around the one, as you know, is the 6 days of creation, a whole universe opens up. It's a portal, or from the circle. That's how important, whatever the circle represents, the spirit, molecule, creation, the spark of life.
All of it.
And you had something amazing. I mean, what I love is we were just chatting the other day, and you showed me this amazing diagram of the flower of life and how it connected to modern technology. I was wondering if you could pull that up.
Yeah, I've got quite a bit of parallels on that actually. I really love that's my favorite thing to talk about. I think I need
This-
the permissions,
yeah.
but
Oh, yes, sorry. So, allow, yep. And we're looking at this kind of bamboo flower of life pattern. So we call this a
yeah.
three frequency. There's all types of flower of life, but that's the three frequency. Right, look at
So
that.
this, yeah, this is what we were talking about yesterday, and when you're setting up a network, this is a lot of signal processing science and the science of antennas. And the reason why 5G in your phone is so fast is because it doesn't use technology like we have been using before.
Uh-huh.
It's very small antennas, but they're placed in very specific points around a city, and they're aimed in such a way that it optimizes the speed of your phone and the data transfer rate. And that the optimal way to do that is the flower of life. It's a hexagonal array, but since we're working with signals, that is naturally a circular type. When you broadcast a signal, it's like a ripple in a pond, right? So
Yes.
if we create all these ripples in this pattern, it's the fastest, most efficient way to set up a cell network.
Wow. That's what I love. I've never heard that before. It's just fascinating. And that sacred geometry is that the key, perhaps, for a better technology. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So should that array cancel out negative frequencies once it's in a sacred pattern? Would that lessen the cancerous effects of Wi-Fi or 5G
You know,
towers.
there's some research, but I don't know if you're familiar with the biogeometry. So I studied under a
Doctor,
guy named Dr. Robert Gilbert, and he studied under a guy named Mohammed Ibrahim,
yeah,
and yeah, he's out
wanting
of
to do
Egypt.
yeah, I mean, all my students have started with Dr. Ibrahim, and I've been wanting to do a Zoom with him at some point. Yeah, so good, you're connected to
Right.
him. That's great.
He's yeah, so I really I've been looking into his work because he did a lot of signal the negative effects of 5G. He had a lot of tactics and techniques to mitigate that in the Nordic countries. I think it was Denmark or Norway.
Hmm.
And the entire population pretty much agreed that what he did was, I mean, it was benefiting everybody health wise and concentration wise, and all he was doing was using colors and shapes and
Really?
placing them in strategic spots around the town. So, combine that with our modern ways of doing things, I think there is a better way than what we're currently doing now, especially in very densely populated areas. We can definitely see the negative effects of that, but
Mm.
I think once those two sciences converge, like, because whatever you go to school for, whatever sciences you're learning, you're also learning sacred geometry. There's a fundamental core of sacred geometry at everything you're learning, but they just don't teach that the concepts when you go to college. When I was in college, I didn't learn about any of this.
It's,
And it would have made it so much more captivating and interesting if I knew the history of where it came from and the philosophy behind it and why this stuff works the way it works. But instead, we just get this is the best way to lay out a cell phone network, And, as useful as that is to a technician, I think we're losing a lot of that in, modern day. There's a lot of depth that's not there. And I think that's why the attention spans are getting worse just because the novelty has to be there, but the novelty can only get you so far, Like there's a ton of surface stuff you can learn,
yeah.
but the real good stuff is when you start to get deep into it. And this is what's I'm trying to communicate that with my videos and in a way that kind of hijacks your attention span and then slows it down and then shows you the concept
Yeah.
the way I would have liked to learn it.
Yeah, like the aspect of wonder and discovery and did you know this? And yes,
Yeah.
your work's really important, and we want people like you to really stand out and keep teaching and create more courses. And just while we're talking about antenna, I just might share the screen. I designed my own antenna, but it's more of a fanciful thing based on the golden ratio. I'll just see if I can find the image. I did a thing, right. Tell me if you can you see this antenna?
Yeah.
This Oh, good. So I'm with you now. So
Mhm.
my obsession in life talking about antennas is that um I've been doing this for 40 years, and I discovered that in the Fibonacci sequence, which is an infinite series, it goes 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. But when we get to 13, we subtract the number 9. So we call that digital reduction, whatever. I
Mhm.
call it digital compression. But so we find that there's a 24 repeat pattern in the Fibonacci sequence. But the one that I really love is when it starts with zero, because something happens when it's a different animal when you start with zero. But this one's starting with one. But what I've done is I've put a disc. I want to do this with metal or copper or wire, but for every number, like one, one, two, the three, that's the diameter of each disc. So
Mhm.
I'm doing a lot of research where I want to go into more of the physics side of things and start building antennas like this and put them in the garden and just check
Oh
to
yeah.
see if they actually make plants grow better, or do they help with our health or house. And yeah, so when you were talking about your antenna, I was just reminded about that. Yeah, so
There's a ton of are you familiar with electroculture? What they're doing with like the copper and
yeah, yes.
plants? I'm curious as well if there's more the more precise your ratios are, or like precise your antenna is, whether that's it could be audio too. It could be broadcasting some audio signals too, because we know that
Mm,
affects plants as well. But the
mm,
geometry, if you make music and you make music in a geometrically tuned scale versus a 440 scale,
yeah.
if you make music a lot, you can hear a very clear difference. And the resonance of the low end as well, like a sub frequencies, it
Mm,
just feels better. It feels warmer, I guess. Like there's more of that sound that's connecting with your body.
Yeah.
And if it's, the same across all spectrums, I think the key is going to be precision here, and
Yeah.
how well we can design these things to get to resonate with biology and life. I think that's a missed. We're studying it now, but I think it's something that's been underutilized for a very long time.
And I remember we had a chat the other day, and I said I discovered this book in Sydney. I was just seeing family, and I walked in to get a maths book. They didn't have it, but in the science section, they had this book by Simon Winchester. And basically, it's saying how precision engineers created the modern world. And it looks at the invention of the steam engine, the car, the Seiko watch, the precisions, all the way to cesium atomic clocks. And without precision, we're going from like a hundredth of a millimeter to say invent something like the screw, and then it went to a thousandth of a millimeter to a millionth, a billionth. And what I love about this book, it completely blew me out. I'm going to do a whole half-hour lecture just on that book. But basically, it's asking the question at the end: where's this high precision? Like we're talking about the antenna for the flower of life, this high frequency precision. What happens if we go right down to the Planck constant? Like, I mean, well, we're working with an energy that's based from extraterrestrial beings, like this ultimate technology. Are we able to handle this technology as it gets finer and finer? Because if our consciousness is not, we might become good inventors, but I think the problem that arose from reading this book is that it's really more got to do with the consciousness of the inventor, because their energy or frequency gets embedded into the toy that they're designing. So that's what I'm concerned about. I'm not against technology, and I mean that's why I love where you're going. I mean, you have a good handle on modern technology, and I'm only just beginning to understand it. But I'm worried about where AI is going and the intention. I think I just read a report from not Grok. It was China just invented a better Grok called
Deep
something
Seek.
Deep Seek, and they
Mhm.
typed in something like the Tiananmen Square massacre that happened, I think, in 1988, but it doesn't exist. So
They're
if we're
really
going to
fast.
create a universal library like an Akashic record where we can access all knowledge and information from the past, present, and future, then it should be genuine. So for someone to put censorship with this modern technology, that's the concern. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on this topic.
There's a couple interesting things that you brought up there that I haven't really thought about. The When you said that the inventor's essence goes into the invention, it kind of makes a lot of sense when you think about the Tesla Edison battle, because Edison
Yeah,
was a massive capitalist, and
yeah,
that's kind of the overlying theme of where we're living right now is a very capitalist society. And
yeah,
Tesla was not. Tesla wanted to he wanted free energy. He wanted to give this stuff to the world, and the fact
exactly.
that his soul in those inventions is coming back through companies like Tesla, whether you like Elon or not. That aura and that energy is in what he was doing. And he was big into esotericism. He was big into everything that a lot of the fathers of quantum science were into. And yeah, that's where it gets, for me, there's a couple bookmarks in the recent history of the Tesla versus Edison, and then we have the quantum science, that era where we got atomic energy and the atomic bomb. So I think we had a split back there, and then we had a split in the atomic age, and then the information age. I see a lot of companies starting out altruistic and like very moral based, and then it evolves and gets more and more capital. Like they get shareholders, they get a board, they get more people, trying to weigh this idea that was once pure and was good for society, and then they have to put some sort of profit incentive or something behind it, and it muddies the water.
Hmm.
It reduces the value of the impact it could have on humanity by extracting it before it can get there, right?
Yep.
So I think if we can bypass that, if there's a technology that comes out, like maybe it's Bitcoin, maybe it's something like where there's no centralized power structure,
Yep.
and we have, I mean, like the I can't remember what country it was that just got they just had a revolt, and they overthrew their government and voted a new guy in through Discord. I was like the Gen Zs did this. It was I
Somewhere in
was
the
the coolest news I've heard in a
Caribbean.
while.
I think it was in the
Yeah,
Caribbean somewhere. I heard it
yeah.
on the news.
But
Yeah,
stuff like that gives me hope, you know, if that's kind of the direction we move in, where technology can be used to give everybody a voice and to allow everybody to be like, no, this is you don't see what's going on over here. Yeah, your iPhone is amazing and it can connect to all this stuff, but look at how they're pulling stuff out of the ground over here and how we're getting these materials.
yeah,
So that's what going back to what we were talking about earlier, when you learn sacred geometry and the philosophy behind a lot of these esoteric traditions, it inherently comes with philosophy behind it. You learn a lot of moral lessons just from the shapes. You know, you can tie a lot of things into that, into the symbolism and what comes out of it. And so that's why I really try and push it hard. I wrote a whole book on it because
yeah,
that is for me, that is where we have to start. It's very captivating for kids. You can tie it in with cymatics. You can make it really interesting. You just have to be you have to know all the levels that it reaches, you know? It's from philosophy all the way to technology. There's this whole range of things we can teach with just shapes, and then we need more people that are teaching that.
yeah. No, that's great. That reminds me. I did an interview with David Sarita, and he was pretty much set up a Tesla Foundation, and I think he got shut down because he knew too much about Tesla. But what I learned from David was recently was that the speed of radio waves, when Tesla first worked with radio waves in the 1920s, he calculated the speed, and it was the speed of light that we know it as, like 186,624 miles per second. But if you multiplied that by the golden ratio 1.618, you got a higher value. And so Tesla was working with all these phi scaling ratios to calculate all the frequencies of radio waves. And I do have the diagram somewhere, but that just made me realize how important the key to the universe is an understanding of proportion and harmonic ratios. Yeah, if you have
I'm
anything
so
on
glad
that.
you brought that up. I have an entire chapter in my new book about phi scaling,
Yeah,
and it's not involved with technology at all. It's involved with the it covers how temples used it.
um,
And that's a huge thing I like to explore because there's so much encoded in temples. But I'm going to share a couple pages of this book with you
yeah,
because this is really amazing.
great.
So there's if you look here, this is like a Greco-Roman temple, right?
Yeah,
And what they encoded this in the entire temple. So from everything from the base all the way up to the column capitals and the roof, you can find this everywhere. I think I put nine golden ratios in here,
yeah.
maybe 10, but I could do it for the whole thing. Depending on how
Wow.
you move, how you rotate them, you'll get the lines for every break in the temple architecture
Hmm.
using the golden ratio. So
Beautiful.
it's
Yeah.
essentially scaling it down from the cosmic down to the terrestrial, right? And
Yes.
this is not just a Greco-Roman phenomenon. Everything from the ancient Egyptian temples too, we're using the same thing. And I've used three here,
Yeah.
but you can see that the doorways and the arches, and then the next level up, the column capital here is
Hmm.
is phi scaled, and these mini little temples down here, they
Yeah.
actually have a chamber. If you go inside and go to the go if you immediately turn in there, they're like a little baby mini temple you can go in. They're very cool, but they're also all of it is designed using phi, and I think it's so cool because our technology, like the circuits in your phone, are based off of that too. The most efficient way to route signals is the golden ratio, and if
Yeah.
you can design a component with it, it operates more efficiently. So there wasn't just a design in ancient architecture that made it pleasing to the eye. It's pleasing because that's how it works in reality. You resonate with it because that's you. You know, you're connecting with something that is inherently you resonate with. Even your ears, you know, they have your cochlea is golden ratio. The rods and cones in your eyes process it in the golden ratio. All of it's connected,
There
and
was a
I think it's beautiful.
diagram. There was a diagram I saw on the Hypogeum. It was underground for 30 feet, a stone structure, and it looked like the shape
Mhm.
of the spirals in the ear. And as the wind came in to this stone temple underground, it resonated to 111 hertz, 111 hertz. So it would have been like a healing chamber, or it created this holy frequency, but it was all built in stone. But I remember that the floor plan looked like the human ear. It was like a sonic mirroring of the human organs of hearing and sound and frequency. And that I don't know how old that is. That's where's the Hypogeum? Is that's in Malta, I think, in Malta somewhere.
Malta. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
one of the older ones. Yeah.
And that's one of your passions.
Ancient date.
I was just looking for a photo off the internet, and the first thing I found on you was just wanted a nice picture because I'm doing a dictionary of early sacred geometry teacher like yourself. So I was more looking for a photo of you, but you had this. I mean, there was 100 there, and I didn't know which one to choose. But you were showing that the cymatic image was similar to Borobudur. Did
Yeah,
you,
I've got actually
if you
a
want to
whole
show
bunch of
any,
these. I can
show us a bit of eye candy on your cymatics because I know
yeah,
you've done a whole deep
I've
dive.
got a ton for you.
Oh wow, look at this. There we go.
So yeah, so that freeze frame is this one, and that's what this is doing. It's just kind of overlaying the pattern that it is the core fundamental that is what the shape is, right?
Okay.
But if you cycle it out between 20 hertz, you can see it does this pulsing motion. And so
Uh-huh.
if you imagine seismic wave or electromagnetic wave that's going through the earth, then you could assume that this is going to resonate or dampen that signal depending on what it is, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
if you can design something, and this is designed with the golden ratio as well, you can design a building to either amplify or reduce the signal. So like the Colosseum, Roman Colosseum, for example, the way it's designed is it's seismically invisible. So if an earthquake hits, the way it's designed, the pillars and how it's oriented, the seismic wave will hit the Colosseum and it will just go around it like it doesn't like it's not there. So a lot of this ancient architecture was designed with that in mind. I'll show you a couple more.
Yeah,
So this
please.
one
Yeah.
is an aerial view of Chichen Itza. And there's another cymatic pattern here. And if I turn the transparency up, you can see that.
Well, look at that.
So
Yeah.
the design, when you fade it out a little bit, you can see that it clearly draws the corners of the
Mhm.
temple.
Yes.
And the beauty of this one is the color here is the heat map of where that the frequency is focused. So you can see that it obviously it's a pyramid. It's going to focus it at the top, but
Yes.
the cymatic pattern will show that to you without you even building the design of the temple.
Mm.
So there's this and there's so many other rose windows for cathedrals. These are water cymatics and the patterns
Mm.
match up almost perfectly. And we can do this for pretty much everything. And the beauty of this is again, like what we're saying, all of it goes back to the core fundamentals of sacred geometry. And you can decipher meaning out of this. It's not just here's a good one. This is the Forbidden City in China, and this is Angkor Wat. Both of these, this component here is a memory module for I think it's a phone motherboard. But the memory modules here are all in the golden ratio proportions. And if you
I
zoom in, they
love
get
that.
smaller and smaller in the golden ratio, like fractally down for
Fractal.
memory.
Beautiful. Wow.
So many parallels between what we're talking about, what we're seeing, and what we use every single day, and nobody knows about it. And I think that's why it's so captivating is when you get to see through your tech, and you're like, okay, maybe they did know something. Maybe the ancients were onto something because this is where it all comes from.
Mm.
Fundamentally, we have, Egyptians, the Vedic tradition, ancient Greek, like all of them were really just the pioneers of this stuff, and they knew that it resonated down to the core, and we're kind of like you said, picking up the torch and carrying it forward with tech.
Yes. Yes. I've also got
Yeah.
you talk a lot about the sound that's spoken, the spoken sound. Like besides, I mean, I know you're doing the work with decoding alignments and structures of ancient pyramids, temples, cathedrals, but you're a sound. Is it you're an audio engineer, so you've got a lot of insight into sound. I was wondering if you could
Yeah.
show us anything.
Oh, you were
You were doing something I saw last when I was scrolling once on Facebook. You were showing that when you speed up the sound of whales, it becomes a bird, and if you
yeah.
slow down the sound of the crickets, it becomes like a human choir. I,
Yeah.
if that, and you don't have to show that, but if you've got anything relating to that, we'll be interested because that's your gift is sonic tonics. I think sonic awareness, which I don't have.
I just like sound. Yeah, I'll show you. I'll give you some insight into this here. I don't know if it's going to pick up very well on my microphone.
Yeah.
Needs some special stuff to record it, but I have some sounds here. Let me see if I can find a good guy. Um,
So imagine you compose music with all these different nature sounds in the subliminally in the background, if you're as a
yeah.
DJ or.
So this is called a digital audio workstation or a DAW, and it's what we use to make electronic music. And this
Oh,
is
I didn't
a
know.
synthesizer. So each one of these is a wave, and I can change the shape of each wave.
Mhm.
And what a synthesizer does is it smashes waves together. So these three oscillators
Oh,
together are
wow.
going to produce a single sound. And so if I
Wow.
turn the keyboard on, and I don't know if there we go. So I don't know if you picked that up in the microphone, but so
Heard
what
it.
I make bass music, and
Yeah.
it's for raves, parties, and
Yeah.
so just by these three waves, you get a sound that sounds like this. Sounds like it's talking, right?
I couldn't hear anything then.
Let me see if I can get
I just checked my sound.
it may not be picking it up. It's coming straight from my speaker, so
Okay.
you hear those.
I'm not hearing anything, but it's okay. But I can see the components.
So it's when you let's see if I have like a the cool thing about this is you can get sound to make the sacred geometry, and that's what I really love about making it is we get to pretty much be involved in that process, right? So like drawing sacred geometry, this is sacred geometry through time
Mm,
because sound is just a frequency, right? And a
yes.
frequency needs a variation through time to exist. So this is essentially sacred geometry at its time form, right? Whereas when it's on paper, it's in its space form. So if you can combine the two and make a visual experience out of it, then you can connect more senses than you would normally have just listening to music, right? If I can tie a shape that the sound is making to it, then we have the full scope of the sound, right?
Yeah.
So I want to actually I don't have any music prepared, but I have this really cool video
Yeah.
that I show people. How this works is by manipulate the channels, the audio channels, and we can draw shapes with it.
Mm,
So this is a guy. He makes this music, and what's drawing this is the frequency. So I don't know if you can hear that, but
I can't hear anything at the moment. Nothing. I can
it
see
may
you're
not
up
be
the
picking up
volume.
mine.
Yeah.
So what this is the left and right axis
Yep.
and the front and back axis. So if you imagine your head facing this way and your ears are this way,
Yep.
what he's doing is he's drawing these shapes with sound. So he's manipulating a sine wave that comes out of each side, and you can draw pretty much anything you want. So he's making this like these visual images, and he gets very complex with it. He can rotate things in space and
Mm,
manipulate perception just by using the sound. And
mm,
when you see it, it gets even more. I highly recommend you check this out
yep.
on your computer because
Yep.
it'll make so much more sense. But you can draw anything with it. So it's essentially a way of creating a world within a world using sonic geometry. And
Yeah.
at the core of reality, that's kind of what we're doing. That's kind of how we're perceiving everything. Everything is a wave, everything's vibration, and
Yep.
vibration has a shape. And if we can manipulate the shape, we can manipulate anything. So
Mm,
I think that's the true nature of,
yeah.
I guess the godlike powers that
Mm,
the potential that we have that all the ancient traditions spoke of, of creating your own reality and being the creator of the dream. If you're in the Vedic or Mayan tradition, you're guiding the dream.
yep.
So there's just so many layers to this stuff. I find it just so
Yep.
fascinating that
That's all
I
new to me. All I know is in the beginning was the word, was the sound. That's enough was the
yeah.
and
And now we have the evolution of it in oscilloscope music.
Now when I was 18, I started going to university and I'd worked all my life. I'm a builder, bricklayer, so I worked all my life on building sites as a teenager. So as soon as I got my first like $5,000, I'm in the city and I walked past a music store and I bought the latest synthesizer. and I couldn't even play, but I was just so obsessed about these sort of like sci-fi sounds that was very extraterrestrial. And I had it for
Mhm.
a couple of years, tried to join a band, but I just remember being completely obsessed about a synthesizer. Yeah, so I always
They're
thought that
amazing.
was interesting that of all things that I resonated to at that time, it was something musical, and I'm still obsessed about it. So thank you for showing me the oscilloscope. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll if we have the chance to speak again, I'll prepare some for you, and we can maybe go
yeah,
over some sacred geometry in audio form.
yeah, that'd be special.
Yeah.
Um, Also, you've written three books. I think the main book by memory is something esoterica
Hmm.
codex esoterica. Is that right? And
Yeah.
there's some on
Yeah.
hidden powers, or I was just wondering if you wanted to
It's
open up one of your a PDF of one of your books and show
yeah.
us what you're explaining in your favorite book, or
So
if someone wanted to study your work, which would be the best book for them to get an introduction to your work? And
so that is what I designed Codex for. It's pretty much an intro to and here's the manuscript for it. Kind of break it down real quick. It's kind of an intro to everything esoteric, and esoteric just means specific knowledge for specific people. And I called Codex the compendium of hidden human knowledge
Mhm.
because that's what it is. It's esoteric and occult knowledge, which has no negative connotation. That's all it means. It just means hidden.
Okay.
And the reason why it's hidden is because not a lot of people can grasp it at the surface level. So you'll see a lot of, symbols that have, the media's interpretation of what it is, and then you have the sacred geometric interpretation of what it is, which would resonate with the true nature of what it is.
Yes.
So I try and uncover a lot of that. And the first section is sacred geometry. And so I just updated this, and this is these are available in physical and digital copies too.
Great.
So this whole system is how it works. And then I had these acts, which is how to use them in your in real life. So like it's one thing to know the knowledge, right? But how that plugs into day-to-day life or what you see in reality, I kind of try and connect it to that and give exercises for realizing that and noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more you do this, the more you start to uncover the layers of reality that have been kind of in your face the entire time. You just haven't seen them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next step in that evolution is vibration. And like we just said, the vibrations can, form all of these shapes. And so connecting the two gives you a bridge. And that bridge is the mind. And that's the third part, your mind and how you process reality and how that works dimensionally. And when I say dimensionally, I'm like, okay, this microphone is in space, right? But to get the full experience of this microphone, I have to go around it through time. We have to have some motion. And
Mm-hmm.
then to process that, we need another dimension that fuses the two together and calls this thing a microphone. So that would be mental. And how this microphone makes me feel is another dimension. So that's your emotional. So I kind of break that down in the next section there. And then the last one is how to use this stuff and how it was used in the past. And I touch a little bit on psychedelics, on music, on art, and just expressing the technology as well. All of it is one thing. Everything is one thing, and I want to bring it all together with stuff that you use every day and notice every day, and kind of build your new paradigm or a way of viewing reality that integrates all of this into one thing. So that's the intro. This is a little heavy for the intro, but
Yep.
the next book in the series was the one I showed you about the temples, and this is Cryptex, and this is a lot more image heavy, and it does a lot. It's more focused on temple encryption and decrypting those encryptions. So it gets a little more specific, like so there's a lot of bio-symbology in Egypt, for example, like this King Tut's mask, his hood, I guess what you call it, sarcophagus.
Yep.
The back of it, there's a lot of references to the components of the brain. So like the cerebellum
Mhm.
and the back are very similar, right?
Yes.
The scarab and the skull and the optic chiasm and the unfolding of the wings and the unfolding of consciousness. There's a lot of meanings to things that we don't really process when we look at the histories because we're not taught it in school. So I
Exactly.
kind of unpack all of that and connect it again to how you can use this in your life. So this is like the that one would be the second book in that series,
Mm.
and then the last one is the Geometrics. That's my sacred geometry. Let's see if I can find this.
So even
Um,
if people don't read it all, they're going to learn from the high visual content, just seeing stuff there that they've never correlated before. So that's what I like about that book.
that's my that's the way I approach my content as well on
Yeah.
on social media because it's a lot of you can say a lot of stuff. You can say a lot of stuff and it can be true, but it's really hard to put that together if you don't have the visual. So I leaned a lot more it's not really text heavy. All my books really aren't. I feel like the image communicates a lot more and I kind of give it just a little bit of context.
Yes.
Uh, and if I could find this Geometrics, I love Geometrics because it's my actually I have a physical copy. I'm gonna show you that. It's it took me the longest and it was the biggest pain to make because I have a lot of really good graphics on it
Mm.
that explain a lot of like how music works and the geometry behind music.
How do you get
There's a
these
lot of
high
stuff on it.
quality images? Do you actually draw the graphics yourself? Because they're all good quality. I sort of recycle poorly drawn
Yeah.
diagrams, and I don't have what you have. But you
So
actually compose them, put them together in graphics.
for example, this one that goes over the tetrahedral grid, I
Yep.
made that one. Yeah. So like those are me. But
Yeah, no, that's good.
thank you. Something like the fractal section, I don't have the software to really put that together. So I have a lot of creator friends that I will ask to make me stuff, or there's a lot of stuff on like just Wikipedia and stuff that I kind of recycle. So a lot of
Very good.
like these guys here, like that's a Wikipedia image, and I just kind of used a
Practice, yes.
cactus image. That one's from Wikipedia and this,
Oh,
Canva.
yeah.
So I'll create the graphics as like composites, but the images are I would say 80% me or my friends and 20% Wikipedia. Just you could find it anywhere.
That's good. Wow.
I feel like people need a good like they wouldn't know where to look to find those images, so I kind of put them in one place and point you in the direction. If you're interested in the fractals, I link out or I give you other stuff to look at for those specific fractals. So I don't try and be the authority on it. I try and be a gateway into what you're interested in. Because this stuff could go so many directions, you know that. Like there you could get lost in in
Yeah.
the precision of a screw, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all connected in some way, shape, or form. And that's the beauty of it is finding what you're into and then kind of expanding on that because it all leads to the same end path.
Well, the buzzword in sacred geometry at the moment seems to be fractal. Everyone's using the word fractal, but they don't really know what it means. They think it's like a
No.
fraction. So it's your
Mm.
job to explain it, and simplify it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I mean, you can get lost in the terminology too. That's why I try and use more relatable metaphors or examples, or just have you backwards rationalize it using your own experiences. Just reason it out because it makes sense when you really think about it,
mhm,
It gets confusing when you have to go into the jargon of, of what the Archimedes solids are and all this stuff. Like there's
mhm,
so much that you could expand on. It's like where do I start?
mhm.
And the answer is you start with what you know. You start with what you're familiar with and then you kind of work backwards from that, in my opinion.
Yeah. So we start off with, say, the five Platonic solids, but then when I got into the 13 Archimedeans, I realized they're the future codes. There's so much still to unpack from those 13 Archimedean solids. I mean, Buckminster Fuller, I think I've got one shape here. I mean, Buckminster Fuller taught us a lot about the cube octahedron,
Yeah.
because this shape is essentially those 12 vertices are from the 12 centers of the 12 spheres around the one. But I mean, that's one of the 13, but there's so much embedded in that. The reason why I love this shape, it's the only shape in the universe where if you took there's 12 internal radials. So if I hold one of these sticks or radii, that distance, we'll call it 1 unit, is the same as the edge. but there's no other shape in the universe where the inside is the same as the outside. Like if I picked up a cube or something, from the center of that cube to a vertex, we know it's half a root two, but this
Mhm.
distance is one, so it's not the same. The inside's not the same.
Yep.
And there's a whole universe of information in just inside of that. And
There's a
I've got them done all as I've got them all done as glass. So that shape, oh yeah, there he is. That's yeah.
stellated dodecahedron.
Yeah, no, that's the most sacred shape because that's the fractal because that becomes like icosa dodeca and it becomes scale invariant. But
Yep.
this one, my friend who makes them, Asaf, a beautiful Israeli
Oh,
man,
that's
a close brother, he never likes his shape. He makes them, he doesn't know sacred geometry, but he feels he's a glass
mhm.
maker and I tried to teach him all this stuff with his wife, but he doesn't want to learn. But he gave me this one because he doesn't resonate to it. I'm saying, Asaf, this is the most sacred shape. It's the Buckminster Fuller one. But anyway, but I of all shapes, I mean, that's the one that's really resonating to me. But as I'm studying all the other ones that I haven't studied, it's like, oh my God, there's so much still
Oh,
to
man.
come. And
It's
yeah,
hard to learn new stuff too, because I feel like if I move on, I'm missing out on stuff that I could know from,
mm,
we were talking about the constructing a pentagram. And you told me
yes.
you could do it with the inside the circle. I didn't know
Yes.
that was possible. Like
It's
there's
very
there's
rare. It's a rare diagram. I was always looking. I thought if I'm a builder by trade, I want to build a pentagon. Let's say we were on your balcony and you said you want me to tile a pentagon inside the square balcony. Well, I don't have room outside the balcony. So I was always looking for a geometry where I could just do it inside and I found it and a lot of research, but they do exist.
yeah.
I'll have to send it to you. I should have had it ready, but
Yeah, I love
yeah,
that. I was racking my brain because I have a course to of drawing it, how to draw it, and I was like, I went through, man, probably 6 or 7 tutorials on how to do it, and they were all just like so complex. I
too many of
almost
them.
was like, I don't even want to draw this anymore. But I think it's really cool. I have like these little in the course I have these little hologram balls. This one's a flower of life. You can maybe
Yep.
see it. But yeah, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
They're really cool because you can shine a light down on them and they make a projection, a cool projection. That's really good for teaching, I think. Having the I have the platonic solids as well too. They're like these cool little visual things, but just being able to hold them and like and move them around too kind of gives you a little bit more of a depth in there. Because I whenever I construct them, I put myself in the position of that shape, right? And try and reverse engineer my way out of it. That's like how my mind works. And I think finding those little pathways to make it fun, like a little journey, is part of the
Yeah.
is part of the intrigue of all this.
Yeah, well, you just reminded me. I'd like to say if I wanted to show you the where I how where if I wanted to send you that diagram of how to construct the five-pointed star in a circle, I'll have to go into another room, but I'll just show you a 40-year collection by hand, pre-internet of so from all these books here behind me, I I photocopy. I do a lot of photocopying and but so I'll end up with thousands of photocopies, but I need to index them and put them into folders. Um, so I'll just sort of go around. So this whole room is just full of geometries and shapes, but I have another room over here. I'll have to put a light on. Um, so in this room here, I don't know if you can see folders. Can you see folders?
Yeah.
So if I go back, it's from the floor to the ceiling is all folders. So this is all on mathematics and speed maths, Vedic mathematics. But over here, I've got all my magic squares. And it's a whole, I mean, the files go all the way down to the floor. Oh, and but so over here I would have say all the Fibonacci codes. So I'd have to find pentagram, but somewhere in there I've got
Oh
all
my gosh.
the but this is a 40-year collection. And from that it's
Yeah,
all
you're gonna.
photocopies. And then over there I've got all my product like from these books and research I made 30 books and 10 DVDs. But I just wanted to show you the madness of where
Yeah.
I mean for me to find information I need to I'm a record keeper, so I've got a lot of rare books down here that you can't see. So pre-internet, I would travel 1,000 miles to go find a book on Charles Leadbeater on occult chemistry. It was a rare edition, and I'd photocopy it somewhere down there. So my whole life has just been collecting knowledge as a passion. And one of them was how to construct the pentagram, and I've got 200 versions of it. I won't pull it out, but yeah.
I need access to your library.
So what I'm doing is I'm trying to put it all online so that everyone can access it. So what I'm doing now is I have a 6,000 page dictionary of harmonics. I call it harmonic stairway. So everything that I put on Facebook or Instagram, like if we do a nice image and a bit of a rave, I record everything I write into a Word document. So it's become
Mhm.
like a 6,000 page document on every harmonic number, like 72, 108, 144. I've
Yeah.
got like 3,000 pages just on that. But then there's also a dictionary on sacred geometry words, like what's a dodecahedron, what's a fractal, or what's the pentagram. So
Mhm.
that's what I mean when I say I'm old school, because everything's going so digital, but I'm trying to make it all digital and scan everything so that eventually I want all this knowledge to be for free. Like this encyclopedia should be just uploaded, and that's why we need help and teamwork and connections,
I
and that's
totally
why I
agree.
see you as our future. I think what you're doing is when I first came across your work, I was so uplifted because older people like me, I mean, I'm 60, I'll be 68 next week. I'm nearly 68. So I've been doing this for 40 years. And so when I see a youth like yourself who's so cosmic and aware, I mean, you're going to take this into the future. So yeah, and that's why I wanted to speak with you, because I honor your work and I honor what you're doing.
I really appreciate that, man. I'm like I said, I've looked up to you. I've all my heroes that over
Mm.
the past couple of years, I did not expect it to go this way. And I've had conversations with Randall Carlson. He's one of my heroes. I learned a lot of sacred geometry from him, and worked directly with Robert Gilbert, famous
Yeah.
Rosicrucian guy. So uh, it's really humbling to hear that, and it's really I'm happy to hear it because I didn't think anyone would want to listen to what I was saying. I really didn't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just had a whole bunch of content and I was I need to get this out. I'm sitting on too much
Yeah.
and it was a hobby, and the fact that people are resonating with this really does it gives me a lot of hope for the future because you could be consuming anything, and I get comments all the time that people only get on social media to watch my videos. They only get notifications when I post, and that's all they do. And
Mm. Beautiful.
it's
Yeah.
such a cool thing to hear. And
They
I'm
want
right there
more
with
of
you.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the most vital thing that we
Mm.
can be getting out right now. Just the world needs it. I see all these, ancient traditions and masters of these traditions are starting to come online and talk about, ancient Buddhist concepts and Hindu concepts and Gnostic concepts and all of this beautiful knowledge that you would have to travel miles and miles and make a trip out of just to read a book is
Mm.
instantly accessible. And I think it's kind of a moral obligation for us if we can, and especially good communicators and teachers to take the mantle on that and like you said, pass the torch forward, because that is literally what the great work keeping this knowledge for the future. And right now it's digital, but like who knows? We may need to start building cathedrals again. But
That's right.
it could happen in the future, and I just want to be as prepared as possible and give people the tools to use that in their life and make it better, because it's completely changed mine, and now I get to connect with people like you and have these awesome conversations about all this and exchange ideas, and it's beautiful, man.
So when you were first studying computer engineering or audio engineering, you never thought you'll be talking about sacred geometry to a mass audience? No?
When I was in college, I was very I wasn't an atheist, but I was agnostic. I had no interest in looking at anything spiritual or esoteric at all. I was like, the engineering is where it's at. That's where I need to go. I was just obsessed with science and stuff, and
Mhm.
rightly so. It's very interesting. I'm not against it at all either. I have a 3D printer. I make music. I still do engineering stuff from time to time. I help people design stuff. It's
Right.
all of it's so captivating to me. But like I said, I didn't have the theory behind it. I was learning all the stuff. I was learning how things worked, but I didn't have the like why. Why does it work? Why? and what are we doing here? Like, the science was cool. I was busy, but I was like, what is this for? What's the end goal here? Are we just gonna like invent more stuff and where does it go? And so I kind of like dug a little deeper, and like I said, I was cleaning windows for a Scottish Rite Masonic building. We were doing a renovation for it, and I was talking to some guys, and kind of got a little bit of their philosophy because I loved how their buildings look. I was always fascinated with architecture, especially early 1900s. Just the symmetry and the proportions are flawless,
You're
and
peeping into their windows and looking at some
yeah.
secret rituals going on.
Stealing books out of the yeah,
But is
yeah.
that how you got into the sacred? If we call it, the reason why we call it sacred geometry, first of all, it's geometry, but somehow you started joining the dots and realizing that everything is interconnected, every culture, every history, every technology. Somehow there was a thread or a link that made you
Yeah.
see the whole thing, and that became a spiritual insight, I would say, or you don't like the word spiritual?
No, I love it now. I would consider myself a very spiritual person. I don't have any denomination. I feel like if I were to, plant a flag in any camp, I would miss out on a lot of teachings from other traditions, and I respect them all. And even my favorite by far is ancient Egypt, and that's where I really got. So the official story is I was talking to this guy, and he told me that the Masons don't officially know where they come from, which I knew was not true. Like I knew that was a load of crap, but I took it at face value, and so I started digging, and then I realized that they were carrying the torch on from the ancient Egyptian knowledge,
Mhm.
and so I started diving into ancient Egypt, and that was I that was probably the biggest epiphany that I had, was just analyzing that stuff, and the knowledge that we've already uncovered from Egypt is immense, and there's so much more. I went there in February. There's so much more that we have no idea about, and
I
like
think
that even
their symbol with the open compass intersecting the set square. I'm not exactly sure, but it could be a pyramid angle. There's
it
an
is, yeah.
intersection, so they were just, yeah. So that's how they hid their knowledge. While
It's
we're talking on this subject, if we believe that everything is interconnected, and a lot of people like you and myself, we don't belong to any one denomination like Christianity or Buddhism. I mean, I love Buddhism in the sense that they don't have a god. They worship basically a consciousness. But would you say, like I would think, that if you study sacred geometry, you're going to see the big picture and that there really is no God because there's not a God that is outside of us. We see that everything on the outside, if it's a fractal, is in the inside. So really, we're interconnected. Our spirituality is seeing God in all people, in all things. Would you resonate with that? That's where I'm sort of at the moment. I'm still trying to understand what divinity is and the sacred.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way of putting it, because when you try and nail it down, I think that's where we get into a lot of problems, socially too, is when we try and say, no, this is God, or this is God, or this is God.
Yes.
So I like the approach of, so I resonate most with Hermetic philosophy, and you mentioned a couple things there, like the all is mind, and as above, so below, and those are two very obvious principles now. Even quantum science is proving all of these, ancient metaphors, if you want to call them that, or ancient laws of the universe, that it's proving them true. So, whatever camp you're in, there's a thread that goes back to another one, or your neighbor, or your, across the world, a tradition that's teaching a similar thing. They just have a different name for it. So I think, proving that is one of those things that I've been heavily focused on as well. It's like, look, we've had a pretty rough history. There's been a lot of, bloody wars and bad things, but at the core of everything, at the core of every tradition, the rules and the underlying fabric is the same. It's we're all talking about the same thing in different languages and contexts, and this is why the geometry and the sound resonated with me so much, because no matter what culture you were, you had some form of sacred geometry and you had some form of music.
Mm,
And those are the two things that every culture on the planet has in common with every other culture on the planet.
universality.
And if we can just take all those things and break them down into their core components. It all leads back to the same thing. So every video I make, every book that I put out is honestly that is the main thing that I'm trying to take a sledgehammer to the narrative that we're all different and this tradition is the way or this tradition is the way. Each video I make, I'm trying to be like, look, no, we're all talking about the same thing here, and we're all, despite how much you don't like your neighbor, your whoever's pissing you off at the moment politically, despite all of that, we're still one human species, and there is a common thing that we all have and we can all resonate with, and we just need more people amplifying that signal and less people amplifying this signal. And I think that if I had to distill down what I'm trying to do as a core, that's it.
Well, I think that's a really beautiful note to end our conversation on. And what's the best way for people to find you? Like on YouTube, website? Where can you direct people to study more of your work?
So yeah, everything I try and post almost daily on Instagram and TikTok as baseforge.us. And then on YouTube, I'm baseforge_US. And then my website is baseforge.us. So all of my products are there. I try and make my videos are pretty much a chapter or a section out of my books that are translated into a visual format for
Mhm.
social media. So if you resonate with stuff like that, I guarantee there's something in there that you'll resonate with. I go much deeper on YouTube, and I go even more deep on the books and the content that I put out there. So that's probably where people are gonna know
Yeah.
me more from.
Okay. Well, look, it's an honor to hear your beautiful philosophy, and I just love the way it's been such a journey from computers to sound and now to, to spirituality and interconnectedness. So it's been fascinating hearing your philosophy, and thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate the boost you've given me too, as well with all your content and stuff. It's really resonated. So it's been an honor, and hope we can do it again.
We will. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thank
Bye.
you, man.